Chapter 371 Start of a New Era. A few months later, in the Start Sea port, a newly built port marking the beginning of the chaotic Star Sea era. Leo Nova, the patriarch of the Nova family, stood in the port with his family. He was one of the 100,000 powerhouses chosen to initiate the chaotic Star Sea era. A few hours later, after waiting, they finally saw the Holy Emperor, the one who proposed this bold plan. We solemnly greet the Holy Emperor. The Imperial soldiers guarding the port shouted seriously. As for the Tier 8 individuals in the crowd, they stood silently, looking at Maximus in awe. It's the Holy Emperor. Leo murmured seriously. Leo had seen the Holy Emperor rise from a humble king to the mightiest emperor. He remembered that he was a mere beggar back then. If not for the resources provided by the Holy Emperor, he might have already entered reincarnation. At ease, Maximus said, calming down the chaotic crowd. Without further ado, the 100,000 chosen individuals, please come forward. Hearing it, Leo and the others flew toward Maximus and kneeled. Even the powerhouses from the other 3 continents didn't dare to be disrespectful. Joining the chaotic Star Sea plan meant they were ready to pledge their allegiance to Maximus. From now on, they would be citizens of the Moonlight Empire, following the will of the Holy Emperor. Soon, a seed containing immense energy flew in front of them. This is Star Seed, the proof of being a Star Lord, the land that will take you through your voyage to the chaotic sea. Looking at the seed, Leo couldn't help but frown. With a sweep of his consciousness, he saw a small world with a 1,000 radius of land. Different from other small worlds filled with various resources, the small world in his hand was barren, filled with rocks and dirt. If not for his trust in the Holy Emperor, he wouldn't think that such land could float into the chaotic sea. Seeing their confusion, Maximus smiled. I can only give you a land. As for how to develop it, it's up to your will. As for the safety and capability of these star seeds, you don't have to worry. These star seeds are bound to the Cursed Continent and are blessed by the world's will. The star seed can be said to be part of the Cursed Continent and thus receive a blessing from the world's will. Although the world's will couldn't directly interfere with the chaotic energy, it could still drive it away from the continental lands. These continental lands are not just lands but dimensions fused to form the current Ethereum realm. The control of the world's will in these lands was stronger, thus expelling the chaotic energy was nothing. Maximus binded these star seeds to the Cursed Continent through the will fusion. The Arcane Continent expanded the land by making their continental land an alchemical wonder. The Divine Continent expanded the land by making the continental land bound by faith and God's authority. The Beast Continent, on the other hand, didn't expand its continent. They just made it into an impervious treasure. Maximus couldn't imitate this measure because he didn't have time, resources, and manpower to implement it. The continental land of the Cursed Continent specializes in the manifestation of will. From the will of people, the battle will of apex sovereigns, the amalgamation of will, etc., it's all about the manifestation of will. Although Maximus didn't master most of these manifestations of will, as the Holy Emperor, his will is the will of the people. Maximus is equivalent to a pseudo-world's will commanding and manipulating the Cursed Continent through his fingertips. Integrating these star seeds into the Cursed Continent was simple. Meanwhile, upon hearing Maximus guarantee the safety and capability of the star seed, they heaved a sigh of relief. The star sea code has already been sent to you, Maximus continued. Make sure to look through them, as they will be your sword and shield on the way forward. Finally, I give you my blessing. May you, the Star Lords of the Chaotic Sea, be safe on your journey. A few days later, after the Holy Emperor left, Leo began gathering the Nova family. According to the Star Sea Code, population is one of the leading criteria to accumulate star points. These star points are the main currency for the Star Lords, whether to exchange for more land, spirit veins, spirit mines, natural resources, etc. Bringing his whole family, not only could he obtain more star points, but also develop the island more quickly. Father. Except for those managing our property, I gathered all the clan members here. That's good. Turning his attention to the star seed, he couldn't help but admire such a treasure. After binding the star seed to his consciousness, he felt the island become a part of his body. Every grain of sand, dirt, and rock seemed to be under his control. Summoning the star seed, an island with a 1,000 radius appeared on the port. The other 100,000 powerhouse also summoned their star seeds one by one, filling the star seaport. Fortunately, the star seaport was a few light years in size. 100,000 islands were like mere dust in front of it. Come, call the array masters. It's time to build the island's array. What about the spiritual vein, Father? We don't have any. This, we will use magic crystals for now, Leo said. Star points were earned only through evaluation, exchange, and missions. Evaluation could only be done a year later. Without anyone having star points, the only way they could acquire points was through missions. However, missions could only be done in the chaotic star zone. They were in the star seaport, which is considered a safe zone. No form of attack shall be used in this area, or they would be punished by the Star Sea Code. Although they didn't know how it operated, it should be the same as a contract supervised by the world's will. Buying resources from the Moonlight Empire, they began to construct the island's array and architecture on the island. The others from the other 3 continents also started their construction. However, unlike the Nova family and most of the people from the Moonlight Empire, they had more connections and resources. From manpower to resources, even magic crystal veins were easily acquired. Due to this, just a few months after, they started their voyage to the chaotic star zone. This is not a vacation, they are here to fight for their future. The sooner they start, the higher their chances of reaching the top. In this chaotic star sea era, wealth, power, status, and even immortality were within reach. Immortality, a realm that only the apex sovereigns could reach. In the Star Sea exchange list, one could use star points to exchange for the Crystal of Life, a sought-after treasure that even apex sovereigns fought for. Unfortunately, besides the Codexia world, there had been no other channel before now. Seeing the Star Sea exchange list gave them hope. Furthermore, according to the Star Sea Code, everyone was equal in the chaotic Star Sea. No Tier 9 beings and forces were allowed here. Maximus didn't accept any of these cheaters that would ruin the game. With their resources, strength, and manpower, once they joined the chaotic Star Sea plan, they would monopolize all the resources. They might even erode his authority, replacing the belief of the people with theirs. Although Maximus could prevent it, there was no need to trouble himself. He simply cut off its source. Without absolute guarantee, he wouldn't let these Tier 9 forces join in the fun. A year later, on Nova Island, Leo was still instructing his clansmen when he suddenly received a message from his star mark. The star mark is the mark of each Star Lord, similar to the Moonlight Empire system, but for Star Lords. 1 year passed. Assessment begins. Population quantity, slight increase. Population quality, slight increase. Island income, none. Island construction, Tier 4 island. Resources found, none. Defeated Star Lords, none. Overall assessment rating, C. Note: a fledgling Star Lord who didn't leave the beginner zone but still made some progress. Reward: 100,000 star points. I still got a C. Leo muttered with a smile. Leo was one of the thousands who still hadn't left the beginner zone. He thought that he would get an E or F assessment rating at most. He didn't expect it to reach a C rating. Different from the rest, Leo not only took his family to the island but also persuaded people from the Moonlight Empire to live on the island. Along with a generous birth policy, there was a slight increase in population quantity and quality. The population increase could only be the people born on the island, not the original citizens of the empire. This measure was to prevent others from buying and selling population, which is detrimental in the long run. One needed to be a meticulous Star Lord who had citizens in mind or generous enough that the people on the island were willing to give birth. Opening the Star Exchange platform, Leo bought a Tier 4 crystal vein. Tier 4 crystal vein could power a Tier 4 island, could slightly power a Tier 5 island. Price: 100,000 star points. Seeing the crystal vein silently merge through his island, a smile appeared on his face. We can finally begin our voyage. Chapter 372 Star of a New Era, 2. Reaching the Chaotic Star Zone. Opening the Star Lord ranking. Calculating comprehensive score. 100,049. Star Lord ranking. Ranked 87,000th. Nova Island. We've finally reached the Chaotic Star Zone, Leo muttered, looking at his rank. Seeing that he was ranked 87,000th, he couldn't help but frown. The Star Lord ranking is very important. Not only does it show the strength of an island being a deterrent to others, but it also comes with various perks. At the 87,000th rank, he was given 13% more star points every year based on his comprehensive development. Entering the thousands ranking, there are even certain discounts in the Star Exchange Hall. We need to hurry. The Chaotic Star Zone was specifically designated by the Holy Emperor. Not only were there no natural disasters and Tier 9 chaotic beasts here, but it was also a treasure trove with the most abundant resources near the Curse continent. With the blessing of Nova Island, the chaotic energy in the surrounding area weakened, allowing even Tier 4 ships to roam. Mobilizing his family and the people on the island, they began treasure hunting. After a few months of treasure hunting, Leo counted their harvest without stop. The sea is truly a treasure trove. Forget about the star points. Just the resources they obtained in the chaotic sea were already too profitable. As long as he went back to the Moonlight Empire to sell it, they would earn a fortune. Sadly, it's not so easy to go back. After leaving the beginner's area, they were not allowed to return. The only way is to exchange a teleportation portal in the Star Exchange list. This is a specialized teleportation portal for a Star Lord that could go directly to the Moonlight Empire. The only problem was that even the cheapest single-person teleportation portal cost a staggering 10 million star points. If Nova Island didn't make any progress, it would take 100 years just to afford one. While he was deliberating their follow-up plan, the island's array sounded a warning. What happened? Leo muttered. Controlling the island's array, he saw an island fast approaching them. Island war initiated. The enemy. Water Behemoth Island. Island ranking. 45,183. Whether to fight or surrender. A water behemoth. Water behemoths are from the beast continent, resembling buffaloes. They have a large and impervious body that could easily defeat individuals on the same tier. Seeing the enemy, Leo frowned. In the Star Code War rule, an island can either fight or surrender. Fighting means an all-out war between both island combatants. According to the island's comprehensive assessment, the Star-Lord can appoint a limited number of combatants who could protect the island in times of war. These combatants are the only individuals allowed to fight and could be killed in the war. Civilians are protected by the Star Code and are not allowed to be killed. Anyone doing so, even accidentally, would be punished with a lower comprehensive assessment and star points. Consequently, the winner of the island war could dispose of the Star-Lord and combatants as they see fit. Furthermore, the loser's island, star points, resources, and civilians could be merged or sold in the Star Exchange list according to the winner's will. It can be said that fighting is an all-or-nothing move. Surrendering, on the other hand, is divided into two methods. The first one is to become a subordinate of the island and relinquish the rights of a Star Lord. From the island, people, and resources, it would be up to the winner to dispose of. However, due to active surrender, the former Star Lords and combatants would be converted to civilians and be protected by the Star Code. The second method is to pay. The Star Code would calculate the corresponding star points needed to pay. If the Star Lord didn't have enough star points, they could only wait for their fate and pray. Being a Star Lord is not all glory. It's a dangerous venture where one could get killed or worse, enslaved. Maximus couldn't do anything about it. To increase the attractiveness of the chaotic Starsea plan, he could only be cruel. Protecting the civilians was already the limit. If he added more restrictions, then what's the difference between living on the continent and the island? They came here to build their dream territory, not to be restricted everywhere. Even because of this, the protection he had for civilians is limited. Besides basic living rights, the civilians could only depend on their Star Lords. Furthermore, even if the Star Lord violates these basic living rights, except for demerits in the comprehensive score, Maximus couldn't directly interfere. Of course, if it's too much, Maximus would directly kill them. In the chaotic sea, it's normal for one of the two Star Lords to vanish without a trace. Everything had to have a degree. Maximus started the chaotic Starsea plan to generate more amalgamation of will, not to let his people suffer. While Leo was deliberating whether to fight or surrender, the Water Behemoth Island arrived near them. Screw this. Fight. Leo muttered forcefully. Initiating the war. Water Behemoth Island combatants. 5,500. Nova Island combatants. 1,500. Soon, a number appeared above them, designating the countdown before the fight. The civilians on both islands also retreated inside the protective barrier, waiting for the fight to end. The people of the Moonlight Empire are not to be defeated. Seeing they were outnumbered, Leo cheered for his combatants. As soldiers of Nova Island, bring forth your swords. We have cows to butcher today. Leo said coldly. In the Moonlight Empire. Is that the Nova family? Finally, someone from the Moonlight Empire is fighting. This is going to be fun. The island war was being broadcasted throughout the entire Ethereum realm. This not only increased the popularity of the chaotic Starsea era, but also generate revenue. Over the months, individuals from all over the Ethereum realm eagerly watched this event. Watching powerhouses tear each other apart was exhilarating. This was incomparable to fights in the virtual world. Everything they saw was real and bloodthirsty. With miniature wars featuring thousands of individuals, it was a visual feast for the eyes. However, the Nova family seems to be outnumbered. Do you still want to bet? With the popularity of the island wars, sharks all over the Ethereum realm seemed to smell blood. Betting platforms were set up everywhere, making gambling easier. Banks were also allied with each other, making the transfer of money was just a movement of fingers. With the current odds, the Nova family had no chance of winning.
Damn.
Are you doubting the people of the Moonlight Empire?
Ignorance.
The water behemoth is one of the battle tribe in the beast continent. An unknown family is nothing, a goat beastman said.
That's right. Don't be too confident.
No matter what, you are outnumbered, a person from the arcane continent added. No matter who our enemy is, the people of the Moonlight Empire are invincible. The Curse continent was a former battle continent. When they faced a strong enemy, instead of fear, they faced excitement. This was inscribed in their genes that couldn't be erased even after countless epochs. With their blood boiling from excitement, they didn't care about the numerical difference and bet all their wealth on Nova Island. While they were arguing, the fight between Nova Island and Water Behemoth Island started. In the beginning, the Water Behemoth was confident. Activating their bloodthirsty instincts and bloodline skills, they lunged at the enemy without regard to danger. The Nova Island combatants also had no fear and attacked the enemy head-on. Seeing the mindless fight, most individuals who bet their money on Water Behemoth Island smiled. Initially, they were worried that Nova Island would fight the Water Behemoth in guerrilla warfare, wearing the enemy down to exhaustion. Now, seeing that the Star Lord of Nova Island was foolish, they heaved a sigh of relief. The Water Behemoth tribe specializes in close combat. A few months ago, they even watched the Water Behemoth destroy an island from the Divine Continent with just brute force. Wealth is about to pour on us. As fire and blood filled the sea, the people watching the island war noticed something different from their expectations. What is that? In the sea lay the corpses of the Water Behemoths. Meanwhile, the people of Nova family were blood red, emitting a heat that boiled the sea. What kind of forbidden technique is this? Unfortunately, no one answered them. Before they knew it, the fight ended. Winner: Nova Island. With the announcement, a carnival ensued in the Moonlight Empire. On the other hand, various gambling organizations were wailing. Who bet such an insane amount? Who allowed this? Under his fury, he couldn't help but kneel down, thinking all his wealth had gone to drain. Meanwhile, Asha watched her nephews count her harvest.
Tisk, TSK.
I wonder how much food I could buy with this, Maxime muttered, seeing how much her auntie won. I have been eyeing a dress for a while. This is so timely. Lila's eyes lit up. I only needed a change of weapon, auntie, Jemaya silently said.
There is too much money here.
Don't worry. Asha laughed heartily. I can't believe these stupid gambling organizations still exist. How can the people selected by Dad be simple? Chapter 373: The Crystallization of Will. 50 years later. In the Imperial Castle, Cultivation Room. Maximus was undergoing a major breakthrough. A crystal made of will began to surround his intangible origin. The crystal was made of hundreds of quintillions of will attracting and supporting each other, protecting his origin. Seeing them form and solidify, Maximus slowly opened his eyes with a smile. He finally condensed. The crystallization of will. The benefits brought by the crystallization of will were immense. It gave him an impervious will. A will that was undefeatable and impenetrable. Even the origin of law could only hardly erode his will. With the crystallized will protecting his origin, unless one had a power stronger than the origin of law, Maximus was invincible.
He's so strong,
Maximus muttered, clenching his fist. From now on, he no longer feared that of an ancient apex sovereign. Although he had no means to harm them, they couldn't harm him either. From now on, the Ethereum realm is my domain. Maximus said with excitement. Calming down, he reviewed his current situation. However, now is not the time. Controlling the Ethereum realm now didn't bring any benefits, but instead a burden. Power is only one of the criteria to control something. One also needs wealth, resources, manpower, and time. Maximus didn't have enough time to play house, conquering the Ethereum realm. The Abyss was about to invade the Ethereum realm. Although it seemed that they were winning now, as long as it was there, it's a time bomb waiting to explode. Furthermore, sooner or later, the Ethereum realm would begin interacting with other dimensions. Without absolute power, all that he has now may become a mere reflection of a moon in the water. Maximus had to hurry and create the 9th chapter of Origin and advance to the peak of the Ethereum realm. 13 sextillion system points. In the 50 years, the amalgamation of will he received only grew from 10 sextillion to 13 sextillion. Even with the growth of population and the ongoing chaotic star sea era, the growth of the amalgamation of will was slow. Maximus seemed to underestimate how large a number of sextillions are. Each percentage growth of the amalgamation of will was a leap of power that cost countless wealth. Just to maintain the operation of the empire, cost sextillions of dimensional coins. To accelerate its growth, Maximus needed to spend over 10 sextillions, which is more than what he earned over a year. The dimensional origin library barely earned sextillion dimensional coins. Coupled with Lux business, Maximus had to add 7 to 8 septillion dimensional coins to the empire. Fortunately, money was not a problem for him. Although he couldn't earn enough, he could convert the amalgamation of will to dimensional coins. With 13 sextillion system points every day, he could have over 4 septillion dimensional coins every year if he wanted. A few tens of sextillion dimensional coins every year wouldn't even dent him. If not for the limited consumption, he could even flood the Curse continent or even the entire Ethereum realm with resources. Shaking off his thoughts of the empire, Maximus began to concentrate on creating the 9th chapter of Origin. According to his estimate, to comprehend a supreme essence of law to transcendence mastery, he needed 100 trillion epochs or 36 septillion system points. To comprehend a rare essence of law to transcendence mastery, he needed 10 trillion epochs or 3.6 septillion system points. To comprehend a common essence of law to transcendence mastery, he needed 1 trillion epochs or 360 sextillion system points. Overall, to comprehend the 1118 essences of law present in the Ethereum realm to transcendence mastery, he needed 828 septillion system points. With 13 sextillion system points every day, he only needed over 177 years. Seeing that he was about to reach the apex, he couldn't help but be excited.
Let's start.
Soon, Maximus returned to his lazy pace. Spending system points, his independent consciousness began to comprehend the essence of law. In this state, Maximus fell into the embrace of his wives. Exploring all over the world, adventuring in the chaotic sea, to disguising as different entities, Maximus and his family were having the time of their lives. Maximus also guided them in their training, imparting the knowledge and key points he had mastered. Meanwhile, the Moonlight Empire began to grow rapidly. Without concern about the threats of the world, Maximus began heavily investing in the growth of his empire. Every year, billions of Tier 8 powerhouses from around the world were given a Star Lord quota by Maximus. Maximus didn't care about their origins or ethnicity. As long as they were capable, they were welcome to become a Star Lord in his territory. This also sparked a real revolution. With billions of Star Lords every year, the interests of the other 3 continents began to be affected. From their population, resources, and other intangible benefits, all of it was being drained by the Star Lords. Unable to negotiate with him, a few apex sovereigns attempted to attack the Curse continent. Unfortunately for them, it was all in vain. Maximus's control of the Curse continent was now as strong as the Ethereum world's will. Crystallization of will made him the embodiment of Curse continent, a god that could command a part of the dimension's power. Anyone who entered his territory would perish, regardless of their numbers and strength. After killing a few apex sovereigns as a warning, instead of instilling fear, the apex sovereigns grew more enraged. In the Ethereum realm, they were immortal and couldn't be killed. Unless their origin was directly destroyed, they had no fear of death. Although Maximus could nullify their immortality by directly destroying their origin, he refrained from doing so. Unless their origin was directly destroyed, they had no fear of death. These would be his source of wealth in the future. He couldn't bear to damage them. He had overwhelming confidence in his strength. No matter how fierce the pigs in his farms were, he would only think of them as cute. However, believing that Maximus couldn't kill them completely, they became more unscrupulous. Knowing that the Curse continent is a forbidden land, they begin to sanction Maximus's properties within their territory. At first, Maximus thought it was a joke. He didn't even care about his income in Myriad World Mall, much less in the Ethereum realm. However, thinking that it would be a loss of face if he didn't do anything, Maximus also fought back. Maximus first stopped the sale of resources from the Myriad World Mall. Without the resources, the situation in the Abyss became a little precarious. Seeing this, Fialon became a peacemaker and began to persuade him. Unfortunately, Maximus was stubborn. Unless those apex sovereigns who sanctioned him apologized, he wouldn't budge. As the situation in the Abyss became more precarious, they realized they couldn't afford to fight with Maximus now. They were still fighting with another dimension. Infighting would only benefit the enemy if it continued. Coming to their senses, they sincerely apologized to Maximus. Of course, deep down, they still loathed this rich man. Tempting their people with wealth and land, the only thing they could do was grit their teeth. Seeing their sincerity, Maximus generously forgave them. Their sincerity, of course, came in the form of some tier 10 treasures that had come from the void. These apex sovereigns had some good stuff hidden, making him a little interested. Seeing they still had some hidden treasure, Maximus began offering them all kinds of resources to trade. Unfortunately, they didn't need anything, and wouldn't budge or sell him anything. Losing interest, Maximus continued to be lazy. Without the sanction of the apex sovereigns, the Ethereum realm returned to its peaceful appearance. The only difference was the rampant activity of the Star Lords. Not satisfied with the surrounding area, Maximus began to improve Star Island. Instead of limiting their movements around the Curse Continent, the entire chaotic sea became their playing ground. Although it became more dangerous, the resources also became more abundant and unique. Soon after 100 years, Star Lords began to be an integral part of the world, like mages, knights, beasts, and gods. It was no longer a mere profession, but an alternative path. Creating a new path, the worlds will generously rewarded him with merit. Unfortunately, Maximus no longer cared about such things. He had already bought all he could in the merit exchange hall. More merit no longer had any value besides directly absorbing it. Besides being an integral part of the world, Star Lord communities began to form. From academies to specialized products and training exercises, it was no worse than any other path. Becoming a Star Lord also became so popular that even the apex sovereigns who had sanctioned it in the past eagerly let their descendants join the fray. The treasures that could be found in the chaotic sea were all unique. There were even some that couldn't be bought in the Myriad World Mall. With many Star Lords, some resources in the past that couldn't be bought also became more available. Slowly, the Star Lords occupy the chaotic sea, the uncharted sea of the Ethereum realm. Chapter 374 Advance to Peak. 150 years later. In the Imperial Castle, Maximus carefully sensed the flowing essence of law in the world. Transcendence mastery. How fascinating, Maximus mused. For the first time, Maximus marveled at the beautiful structure of the Ethereum realm. Different laws from different dimensions form complete laws, yet it didn't collapse. If not for the interference of the Abyss, sooner or later the Ethereum realm could advance to a tier 10 dimension purely with its structure. However, this world is too fragile. Maximus frowned. Although he had not yet advanced to tier 9, his control of law was no lower than that of those ancient apex sovereigns, or perhaps even better. As he felt the situation of the Ethereum realm, he could only shake his head. Although merging 4 domains created the present Ethereum realm, it also left the world too bloated and fragile. The laws were just merged together like Play-Doh. It's too messy. Just looking at it made Maximus feel as if he were in a shoddy house that would collapse with a single touch. He was simply amazed it could last for a long time and even fought back the Abyss, like a disabled fighting a professional boxer. This goes to show how much untapped potential Ethereum realm had left. No matter, I'll fix it later. With his mastery of law and Valoro's experiments as a reference, sorting out the Ethereum realm should be easy. However, first, he needed to advance to tier 9. Although he could already control the essence of law with his mastery, it was too inefficient to do anything. Now that he mastered all 1118 essence of law, creating the 9th chapter of Origin should be a quick. Over the 150 years, with the population explosion and the popularity of Star Lords, the amalgamation of will he received skyrocketed to an insane degree. From 13 sextillion, he now had over 70 sextillion unit of amalgamation of will every day. Creating the 9th chapter of Origin, at the rate of 100 billion epochs every day, it would only take him a few months to finish.
Let's start. A few months later.
Maximus looked in amazement at the 9th chapter of Origin, while simultaneously gaining a deeper understanding of being at the apex. The self-regulation and internalization of law. Advancing to tier 9 meant converting to a being of law. One would no longer be in the category of race, flesh, blood, or even soul. The entire being, personality, and spirit would merge to become a matter of law. This essentially replacing the dimensional laws with one's own being. No wonder there can only be a limited number of apex sovereigns. In each continent, there could only be 1,118 apex sovereigns controlling each law. Furthermore, because of the dimensional suppression, one could only become a master of one law. No matter how talented one was, they could only be limited to one law. Although it is said that specialization is better than master of all trades, Maximus couldn't do with just one law. His path is the origin. It should encompass all laws and phenomena. Fortunately, he had a way to bypass the limit of dimension. The World Tree, a Tier 11 ultimate treasure with unlimited growth prospects. It is capable of internalizing any law. Maximus shouldn't have any problem directly internalizing it as his own. Maximus could even directly internalize all the 100,000 essence of law present in all dimensions. The only problem was that it was expensive. If he internalized the law of the Ethereum realm, he only needed to wait for it to advance to Tier 10, then he could comprehend the following state of law, which is the origin of law. However, internalizing the law of the World Tree, Maximus needed to personally invest to condense the essence of law to the origin of law. Thinking of the expenses he would need in the future, he couldn't help but cringe. Taking a deep breath, Maximus decided. Binding his future to a dimension would only limit his path. Although it was a little more expensive, the limit would be up to him. His goal is the peak. Nothing should limit him. Otherwise, he would only stop at Tier 11 no matter what he did. Looking at the World Tree in his palm, he seemed to witness a bottomless pit that couldn't be filled. I hope you won't disappoint me. 10 years later, putting in massive system points and resources, Maximus began to cultivate the 1,118 essence of law present in the Ethereum realm. With over 70 units of amalgamation of will every day, he didn't have any problem when it came to system points and resources. In just 10 years, he condensed all the laws present in the Ethereum realm. Looking at the other laws besides the ones present in the Ethereum realm, Maximus could only sigh. Although he could also internalize other laws for his use, he didn't have enough time. To internalize other laws, he needed to first comprehend them to transcendence and input them into his origin cultivation technique. It would take too much time, and he had a feeling he didn't have much of it. Tier 9 is self-regulating and internalizing, meaning its laws would become part of the body. In the past, when he absorbed elements not present in the world, they would immediately shatter and disperse in the world. However, upon reaching Tier 9, the dimensional law could no longer interfere. No matter what type of energy he absorbed, it would be contained in his body and wouldn't disperse. This is also why an apex sovereign is immortal. The energy they absorb would be theirs. Unless they use it, it won't dissipate on its own. They were basically robbers, robbing the worlds of their energy. That's why those ancient apex sovereigns were so suppressed that they could only send clones out to interact with the outside world. Although it's not as bad as when he was suppressed. It was enough that they needed to resist all the time, being locked into seclusion. Taking a deep breath, he turned his attention to the present. Reminding his family of seclusion, Maximus began to internalize the 1,118 laws inside the World Tree. Maximus slowly replaced the properties of his body with law. The common elements: fire, water, wood, earth. The rare elements: space, time, nether. The supreme elements: chaos, creation, fate. With each law, Maximus felt endless power coursing through him. As he continued to internalize his laws, the crystallized will that surrounded his origin also started to change. Feeling the change was not causing harm, Maximus continued. Law after law merged into him, replacing his flesh, blood, and soul. 3 years later, inside the World Tree, an explosion of will and energy began to spread. Resources and life that it passed through began to evolve and mutate, taking a leap of origin. In the center of the explosion, Maximus silently breathed, making waves of energy each time. Opening his eyes, a light shone through like a god descended from earth.
Tier 9.
Maximus softly muttered. Moving his hand, the law around began to stir. How fascinating. If previously Maximus felt like terraforming a land while he controlled the essence of law, now, just with his thoughts, the essence of law moved like his arms and legs. Exiting the inside of the World Tree, he saw his family waiting for him. Seeing him, excitement appeared on their faces.
Maximus. Husband. Dad. Father.
They greeted, as if asking if he successfully advanced.
I succeeded.
Maximus said with a smile.
Huh.
That's great.
We're safe. Humph.
It's our turn to beat the abyss. Hearing something different, a frown appeared on his face.
Abyss?
Weren't they beaten already? What happened? It's the abyss. They invaded the Ethereum realm, Lux said with distress. 3 years ago, after his father's seclusion, the abyss suddenly exploded with unprecedented power. The abyss monsters that couldn't keep up with their output suddenly multiplied in number and quality. Their proud defensive territories in the middle and boundary layers of the abyss collapsed in just a few months. If not for the emergency evacuation of the Ethereum world's will, they would have died there and then. Seeing that they escaped, the abyss followed them and directly invading the Ethereum realm. The only saving grace was, as their home court, the world's will was at full power. Preventing the entry of any Tier 9 abyss entity, the remaining abyss monsters could be wiped out with a wave of their hands. However, as it continued, the Ethereum realm also began to weaken, like it was being sucked by the abyss. Seeing their father exit cultivation, they seemed to see hope.
Is that so?
Maximus frowned. He thought that it would still be a few decades before the abyss gathered energy. He didn't expect it to be so fast. What about Malgren? Where is he? Uncle Malgren was still injured. He was recuperating in the castle, Liam said. Even Malgren couldn't take it? Just how fierce is the abyss? If you saw it, father, you would know the craziness of the abyss. Countless Tier 9 abyss monsters and hundreds of abyss monarchs. Uncle Malgren fought them like a god of war without fear. Unfortunately, there are too many enemies. Uncle Malgren can only hold them off for a few months, Jamak sighed. Until now, his eyes were still filled with admiration, remembering the battle. He excitedly wondered how his father would fare in the face of such enemies. Chapter 375 Nexus Virtual Gateway. In a Tier 10 healing array, Maximus looked at the floating blob of flesh as it slowly regenerated. Is this Malgren? Yes, Uncle Malgren was sent here by the world's will. At the beginning, Uncle Malgren was just a blob of energy. It seems that the regeneration process is proceeding quite well, Liam explained. Is that so? Maximus muttered in amazement. Just with the state of Malgren, he estimated the intensity of battle. It must be grueling beyond words. Fortunately, under the care of the world's will, Malgren survived. Let me heal you. Putting his hands, Maximus began to absorb the abyss aura attached to his flesh piece by piece. The reason Malgren couldn't fully heal was because of these abyssal auras. They were like aggregates devouring all energy it touched. It's amazing how despite this, Malgren was able to hold on and even regenerate. Removing all the abyssal aura, the surrounding law began to surge as Malgren's body quickly reconstructed out of thin air.
Har alive!
Malgren shouted, stretching his body. Welcome back to the world. Maximus greeted. So it's you, thanks. Malgren nodded, seeing Maximus. No worries, but I must say, it seems that the abyss has done a great deal to you. Maximus joked, mocking Malgren's a little. Although according to his sons, there are countless Tier 9 abyss monsters and abyss monarchs. With Malgren's strength, there should be no problem fending off the enemy and escaping unscathed. Hey, you didn't know there is a Tier 10 abyss god there. I couldn't even survive a few punches, Malgren sighed, remembering the battle. Initially, he was enjoying a hearty fight after a long time. Who knew that a monster would pop out of nowhere? A Tier 10 abyss god, an invincible abyss monster in its rank. He was barely holding on, fighting hundreds of abyss monarchs. How could he still fight an abyss god? There is also a Tier 10 abyss god? Maximus frowned. He thought there were only Tier 10 abyss monsters at most. He didn't expect that even an abyss god was present. What about Tier 11 abyss creatures? Did you see one? No, the energy gathered by the abyss is simply not enough. It's already a miracle that they were able to gather energy for a Tier 10 abyss god to pass through. Hearing that there isn't a Tier 11 abyss monster, Maximus heaved a sigh of relief. Tier 11 abyss monsters were in another league. They are unique abyssal creatures with titles of their own. Once they appeared, even a Tier 10 dimension would be brought to its knees. Much less a Tier 9 dimension that was barely hanging by. Once this kind of creature appeared, there was no use in asking for help. Thinking about asking for help, he opened the Myriad World Mall. Is it still the same? You haven't updated it yet? Oh, I forgot, Malgren said, scratching his head. He was having the time of his life fighting such an exciting battle. Where could he still remember this small detail? Seeing Malgren's expression, Maximus knew he was just lazy. Manipulating the myriad world mall, he allowed it to calibrate, scanning their dimensional coordinates and finding its main server. Myriad world mall calibrating. Scanning coordinates. Connecting to the main server. Quantum link connected. Nexus virtual gateway activated.
Whether to connect?
So it's no longer text but a virtual world? Maximus muttered, seeing the textual form of the panel disappear. Suddenly, a virtual little fairy appeared in front of him. Hello, I'm a Nexus fairy, Jixia. The host could only access the virtual shortcuts once he registered. She continued.
Jixia?
But I didn't buy a fairy guide. Furthermore, a Nexus fairy. It's been detected that the host of this Nexus virtual gateway owns over 100 septillion dimensional coins, thus Jixia is summoned. Furthermore, Nexus fairy is the highest tier of guide fairy. The host just needs to ask, and I can do anything.
I see.
Maximus nodded in understanding. Because he often needed to buy resources to feed the world tree, he deposited hundreds of septillion coins in the Myriad World Mall. What happened to my transdimensional system now? Can you tell me its function? There are too many functions, host. For now, the host should register his identity in the Interdimensional Council.
Do you want to go together?
He asked Liam and Malgren. Sure. Malgren readily nodded, seeing his transdimensional system updated too. However, unlike Maximus, he didn't have free guide fairies. Due to his lavish spending over the years, there were only a few sextillion dimensional coins remaining in his balance. Meanwhile, upon hearing his father's invitation, Liam paused.
Can I?
His father hadn't given him a copy of the transdimensional system yet, so he doubted if he could come. Jixia, give my son a quota for the Nexus virtual gateway, Maximus said, seeing Liam's concern. Previously he hadn't given more copies of the Myriad World Mall, because it could trigger the automatic exposure of their dimensional coordinates. Now that everything is revealed, giving another copy is not a problem.
Right away, host.
The host can also give quotas to all the living beings in this dimension. According to the dimensional scan, there are over 750 septillion beings eligible to use the Nexus virtual gateway. You can scan the whole Ethereum realm? Maximus asked in shock. One had to know that the Ethereum realm is measured in trillions of light years. For Jixia to be able to scan the whole dimension in an instant can only mean she had the capability of a Tier 11 treasure. Yes, although the Ethereum realm is close to the size of a Tier 10 dimension, it's just a mere speck of dust compared to a Tier 12 dimension. Jixia is a Nexus fairy, so she should be able to do this much, Jixia said as if it were normal. Then, do you have any combat power? Maximus asked. If Jixia had combat power, then he wouldn't need to do anything. Having the capability of a Tier 11 treasure, killing some miscellaneous abyss monsters shouldn't be difficult. No, host, according to Nexus code, we guide fairies is forbidden from ever harming any being under any circumstances. However, if the host wanted to escape this place, then Jixia can easily do so. I can even take you to our home dimension. There should be a lot of fairies that would like the host. Jixia said, looking at Maximus as if he were a treasure. Fairies, specifically guide fairies, love wealth very much. Thus, knowing Maximus's wealth, Jixia couldn't help but recommend a few of her sisters. What about the dimensional bondage? Isn't it said that one couldn't get out of their dimension before reaching Tier 10?
This is not a problem, host.
The only reason why an individual couldn't go out of his or her dimension is because their origin is fused in the said dimension. Leaving the dimension they were born in would lead to all kinds of complexities, ones even we fairies couldn't solve. However, the Nexus gateway has already solved this problem. By linking one's origin to the system, the host could travel to any dimension while remaining connected to their dimension.
I see.
It's like transmitting the physical body while leaving the origin in the said dimension.
How about it, host?
Do you want to travel to other dimensions? Jixia, forgetting Maximus hadn't registered yet. I still need to do something, and Maximus shook his head. As for giving others a quota, let those Tier 9 powerhouses taste it first, Maximus said after thinking. Giving all the beings in the Ethereum realm a quota of the Nexus virtual gateway would only lead to confusion. With everyone having a transdimensional system, the chaos would be something he couldn't control. They should first solve the abyss problem before making this massive change.
Done, host.
Should we get going? Yes, Maximus said, looking at Liam and Malgren.
Let's go to...
Nexus Virtual Gateway. Inside the virtual world, a massive number of beings of different races and dimensions walk around leisurely. In such an endless world, building after building could be seen, each with unique features fascinating the masses. The noise from the vehicles, the air flowing around, everything felt so familiar yet unique. Welcome to the Nexus Virtual Dimension, host.
Jixie welcomed.
Right now, we are in the primal Nexus domain, the birthplace of this dimensional virtual world. Enough of that, where do we register? Malgren interrupted. This fairy was talking endlessly that he was developing a callus in his ears. He even contemplated if he should buy a guide fairy in the future. I'm talking to my host, ugly poor mister. Jixie said, rolling her eyes. Anyway, should I take you to register, host? Jixie said, flattering Maximus.
All right.
Maximus nodded, nearly laughing at Malgren. What a bitch. Malgren murmured, hearing Jixie's biased towards Maximus. Soon Jixie teleported them to one of the highest buildings in place. Interdimensional Council? Maximus muttered, reading the sign. The Interdimensional Council is one of the 3 overlords of the Dimensional Alliance. A host should be careful not to be disrespectful inside.
Jixie advice.
The Dimensional Alliance is an alliance of all dimensional forces in their plane of existence. Among the 3 overlords, the Interdimensional Council is the one that manages and keeps everything in order. Every law, rule, and regulation is for them to decide and implement. Offending the Interdimensional Council, even a Tier 11 being would have a hard time surviving. I know, let's go inside.